Hey, everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the afternoon. Joining me today, it is Philly's #1 hockey beat writer, Charlie O'Connor. What's going on today, Chuck?
Not too much. You know, nothing really happened the last 24 hours.
Nothing at all. I see you you put out an article this morning, like an hour ago.
I wasn't planning to write last night, but then given the Rick Tocchet of it all, I felt like I had to.
I love because it was check it out, allphly.com, and we're going to talk plenty about Rick Tocchet today, as you probably took from today's thumbnail. Is this inevitable? Really kind of feels like it right now, but yeah, there are other openings. A quarter of the teams in the league need a head coach. We're going to look into that and everything, but I got to tell you right now, hit that like button. Get us up to, 26, like a minute into the show. That is pretty good. We've been doing well with this new time. Got to keep it rolling here. Hit that like button. Keep us fed. Now, I liked your article today because it's like, the arguments, like breaking down each argument against Rick Tocchet. I was like, okay, 1, 2. All right, we're like 8.
There's a lot of reasons why people are not into Rick Tocchet. I think I got to 7.
Yeah, 7, I think.
There are a lot of reasons why people are not into Rick Tocchet. And to give people the background, because sometimes I do think that we on this show, we assume that everyone is as online as we are. So,
and I really, really hope not.
Yeah, right, exactly. But to provide the background for why we were talking about Rick Tocchet today, and we'll get more in depth on him in a bit. I think we want to talk a little NHL playoffs before that. But the reason why we're talking Rick Tocchet is because yesterday it was official. Vancouver Canucks announced that Rick Tocchet will not be returning to the Canucks. Jim Rutherford had his press conference, which, as usual, he talked probably more than he should have because that's just what Rutherford does. But what we know is that Rick Tocchet is not staying in Vancouver. He turned them down. He decided he wanted to explore other opportunities and would not sign an extension, which means he is now available for the Philadelphia Flyers, or anyone for that matter, to hire as their head coach. And this is why we're talking about Rick Tocchet, because as I noted in the piece I wrote this morning, or wrote yesterday, published this morning, these Rick Tocchet rumors are not new. I was hearing rumblings linking the Flyers to Rick Tocchet months before the Flyers even let John Tortorella go. This dates back to like late January, early February. And that is, I suspect I'm not unique in terms of hearing these things. This is something that has been building for a while. And the one thing that was stopping us from saying, well, he's really the #1 is that he wasn't actually available. Now he's available. Now you have to really have the conversation as to whether this is going to happen.
No, the Tocchet stuff, I mean, people were informed, speculating on it, at least when, they had a shot to make the playoffs up until the last week or two of the season. But it was like, this was a team that was awesome, at least by results last year. They won 50 games. They took Edmonton to 7, and then are they going to get a wild card? And then you start thinking, teams that dramatically underachieve, especially ones that have public locker room issues like that. This isn't the NBA or the NFL. This is the NHL, where this stuff doesn't come out until, a year later, if it ever does. And this was like an open feud between the team's 2 top forwards.
It was very un-NHL.
Yes, it was very un-NHL, at least like the way we think of it. When these things happen, coaches become available. And we know he was in the last year, at least of the guaranteed portion of his contract. So it started to does this make sense? You look at the Flyers, clearly it ain't going all that well under Tortorella right now. People were connecting dots months ago, and now here he is available. But let us talk about this postseason real quick, and we lead it off as we have all week with our TANKATHON spin. Now, of course, this coming Monday, May the 5th, is Cinco de Lotto.
Cinco de
Lotto right here at the PHLY studios. If you are a diehard, you can go to allphly.com/events and get your tickets for our draft lottery party we're going to be holding here on Monday, May the 5th. Coincides with the actual draft lottery. We all know the Flyers have that 4th spot in lottery odds. We are going to all sit around, watch it together, have a live reaction show. There's going to be plenty of refreshments and fun, pop a shot, all sorts of great stuff happening here at the studio as we cross our fingers and see if the Flyers can move up into the top of this draft, or at least not fall to 6. All right, but until then, we're going to continue simulating it. I'm going to have to come up with a different way to like kill 5 minutes every day after this lottery, I just realized.
But can we just keep doing TANKATHON?
Yeah, we just keep doing TANKATHON. We should have won, damn it. We have a 9.5% chance. But as you can see, here it is. It's San Jose, Chicago, Nashville, Philly, Boston is your top 5. Brenna, spin that wheel. All right, we see how it works out.
Drops to 5.
And they fall to 5. And as
the Islanders? The Islanders?
That is one of the teams I can't even imagine it's rigged for.
Jeez.
I don't know if I have a conspiracy
Well, now that
theory.
Lou isn't there, you can't think of a reason why they would rig it for the Islanders.
Fear of
Lou. If Lou was still there, that would be the conspiracy.
You know what?
Obviously.
They're taking the All-Star game away from them next year, so they got to give them something.
I got you.
That's what it is.
Okay, there you go.
There's our conspiracy theory for the Isles and why they might win this lottery instead of the Flyers. All right, and that on our draft lottery show, I'm going to go through each team's conspiracy theory, why they're going to win and the Flyers won't.
I think
can't
Nick
wait for that.
From Philly Voice did an article a couple days ago interviewing the guy from TANKATHON, basically saying that, like, yeah, Flyers fans are blowing up my hits over the last few weeks.
I
which,
think
like,
it was,
of course they are.
It was like a few weeks ago. I think I saw it like about the Sixers, and it's like TANKATHON. This dude just started the site, and then as the process happens, the first time around with the Sixers, it's like all of our traffic was from Philadelphia.
And now it's happening again.
And then, like, it's like, they've come back home. Like, because obviously the Sixers, like, with the top 6 protected pick, everyone was going there, running it every day. We've been running it with the Flyers. We have both teams in the freaking lottery. So, like, TANKATHON, they owe us, like, they owe the city of Philadelphia their, like, half their credibility.
It is funny. Like, and we obviously are partially to blame, to credit for this, because we're running it every day.
Every day.
And we are promoting, by virtue of doing it on the show, the existence and the value of TANKATHON. But it is inherently ridiculous how many people are like going to TANKATHON and hitting a button. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't mean anything.
It's getting likes on social media doesn't do anything, but it just hits that little button in your brain.
Exactly.
Like just a little endorphin rush there. And I think we all get it. Like we see the Flyers move up, move down, and it just all right. Like our social clip yesterday was us moving up to 1. Like that didn't actually happen. It's just a simulator. We didn't actually get the first pick, but it made us all feel real good. All right. The other half of the teams in the league participating in the Stanley Cup playoffs, Charlie.
Now there's one team
one down
that isn't anymore.
And I want to lead it off with the Kings Devils.
I love watching the Devils fail.
Nice.
It's very fun.
And
my most hated team in the league by far. They shouldn't exist.
Hate the freaking Devils and all that. And there's another layer of hatred that I have for the Devils. It's really fun seeing another Josh Harris-owned team.
Fair. Never
healthy in the spring.
Yeah, it's fair.
Like, that's just nice. Like, well, we didn't have Jack Hughes, and we're missing 3 defensemen. I wonder what that's like. I wonder what that's like. Man, that's got to be rough for you. But Hurricanes now move on. You see how they did it in a very Sixers-like fashion. The Devils have a 3-0 lead in the game, and suddenly it's 5-4 double overtime. Canes move on.
Yeah.
As I was watching some highlight show this morning, and Jacob Markstrom, in between goals 4 and 5, made 36 saves. Like, that's a game. He had a pretty busy game's worth of shots prior to letting in the game winner. He paid off for the Devils as an offseason move, at least in the playoffs. Insane save percentage. But they go home. Series might have been a little closer, I guess, than the 5 games it went. But ultimately, you watch those games and go, one of these teams clearly better than the other.
Look, I've always been someone in sports who likes when the fair outcome happens, when it seems like, on this random and chaotic world, a little bit of fairness is being, thrust upon us, I guess to say. And that entire, basically the third period and the overtimes, it just felt like the culmination of the series, because there were times during that series where the Devils looked okay, where they were hanging with the Canes, but it just seemed like the second half of that game into overtime was when the two teams settled into the equilibrium of like, oh yeah, the Canes are way better than this version of the Devils. And maybe a healthy Devils team would have been able to hang with them. That's certainly possible. This Devils team could not. And it would have been not depressing because I'm not really that invested in the series, but it just would have felt unfair had the Devils scored on like one of their 3 shots from the middle of the second period on.
It was a clear distinction between these teams.
Yes.
And yes, injuries a major part of it for the Devils, but we've been hearing that for like 2-3 years now. So we'll see. I guess it's just all a waiting game for Jersey until they get Quinn. Like, really, that's what it comes down to.
You're already on that train?
I mean, their GM is on that train, so what am I supposed to do?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying that Quinn Hughes really likes Rick Tocchet, and if Rick Tocchet goes somewhere else east, maybe.
It would be a lot of fun if we had the brother v. brothers matchup.
Pretty cool.
In the Metro. That would be cool, but something tells me they're all going to end up together one day. Maybe it's here.
Certainly possible.
We'll see how that goes, but that's the Canes move on. They will play the winner of Washington, Montreal, because they don't reseed. That's how it works, right?
Yes, they don't reseed anymore.
So we got to probably believe it's going to be another red v. red matchup with Canes and Caps, but Montreal has made it kind of interesting, at least a bit here. The Leaf Sens is the one I'm really interested in talking about, because I am in a little bit of a quandary here.
Okay, let's hear it.
There is the obvious. I hate the Senators more than anything. They are my most hated team.
It's true.
Outside of the Mets, maybe in all of sports. Like, I just laugh at the Cowboys now. Like,
they're pretty funny.
You're not even a football team. You're a reality television show.
Yeah. Jerry Jones, live until you're 100,
Keep up the good work, my friend.
Keep breathing, bud.
Doing a great job down there. Like, I really think it might be the Sens. That said, man, the funniest possible outcome is this going 7.
Oh, yeah.
And the Leafs at home, top seed in their, they win the division. They're up against a wild card team. Battle of Ontario. And they have the demons. They have the ghosts of blown game 7s past. It would be really freaking funny to see what happens in that game 7. So I may have to root for the Ottawa Senators for one day.
Okay. I respect it.
And then see what happens in game 7. At that point, who cares? It's just funny.
Then you get a game 7.
It's just funny no matter what. And we get a crazy game 7. I'm sure there will be like 2 blown leads on either side of the game. It'll end up 6-5 in overtime or something. And we'll just get a ridiculous game out of it. But it is just... You go to I always check right before we start the show. Like, I come in, I get the outline together, and I go, all right, what the hell else is going on in hockey? What are other people saying? And I go to like Sportsnet, I go to TSN, I go to the Hockey News, I go to all the national sites. Every TSN headline is like, demons of the past rearing their heads. Leafs say we're fine following game 5. Like, it's just every possible... oh, it's happening narrative is already here. And the Leafs are still up in the series. And they have 2 games to close this thing out. And they have home ice in game 7.
That's true.
You would think they're trailing 3-2 in this series right now based on the national media. And it is just... I love it. I love it so much.
It's extremely funny.
It's just cool to see, like, hockey treated as football the way it is in, like, the way we see it. Like, like the Negadelphian aspect north of the border, like, and put onto a hockey team as the national sport. I just get a real kick out of the entire thing.
I mean, Leafs fans,
they have reason to be.
If you want to make a comparison, and it's funny because, like, I obviously am one of these fans, but I am extremely annoyed all the time by Leafs fans. I find them extremely obnoxious, and maybe it's a little bit of projection because if you're going to compare Leafs fans to anybody, they're Eagles fans.
Yeah.
Like, that's what they are. Leafs fans are Eagles fans before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, minus this recent run of success where we just think good things happen suddenly. Like, man, like, our GM's got it, and we love the quarterback. Despite his flaws, it's like, you're going to talk about Jalen, I'm going to fight you. Like, rookie defense don't matter. It's like they are us
They're us pre-2018.
Yeah, pre-2018.
Yeah,
really.
they are.
Like,
they really are.
Around the Doug Peterson hiring, they are us.
This series reminds me a lot, and I guess it would be a positive for Leafs fans because it did ultimately end well, but then eventually it ended real bad, both on the ice and off the ice. This series reminds me a lot of the 2011 Vancouver-Chicago series in the first round, where Vancouver had lost to Chicago twice in a row in the playoffs. They were viewed as the choking team, the team that can't come through, that has all the talent, but can't actually get it done when it matters. They go in against Chicago. It's a 1v8 playoffs round. They win the first 3 games, and then they get it to game 7. They end up winning in overtime, and it was a tight game. I mean, that game could have went either way, but they just scared the hell out of their fans who were already predisposed to thinking the worst of that team. Then the Canucks do make it to the final. Then they get blown out in game 7 and they riot. So tell me you couldn't see that happening in Toronto.
Oh my God.
If they were to lose in game 7 of the Cup final, they're rioting.
If they get, I mean, at this point, if they just even get to a conference final, aren't those fans just like, thank God we got like somewhere? Or is it, we still can't get it done? Like,
I think it's
probably
that. I think it's the latter.
I don't know after, when was the last time they won? 67? I don't know if there are moral victories after 60 years. Like, I don't know. Like, if the Flyers get to a conference final, it's like, yeah, that's the furthest we've been. I'd be like, all right, that doesn't really do it for me. We'll see though. That's a fun series just because of the possibility of chaos. And now the Oilers look to have established their dominance, and I think they might be my new Cup favorite.
So you went from writing them off to now believing they're going to win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, because seeing how, I mean, that's the playoffs. You win a game, you're the best. You lose a game, it's over.
Right. Basically the playoffs are perfect for you.
Oh yeah, the Kings. The Kings had that opportunity, I thought, to close this thing out.
Game 4 was their opportunity.
Yeah. Like, just really established dominance here. And now, well, we all know how this is going to go, I feel like. I'm not saying the Kings can't do it. I am still rooting for the Kings, obviously, for a number of reasons. Most notably, our first-round pick.
Yep.
But it just kind of feels like, yeah, they're gonna go into nuke mode, and this thing might be done in 6.
It just felt like watching that game that Edmonton. It took them 5 games, 5 games and a little bit of this game to realize that they are the worst stylistic matchup for the Kings, and that's why they've beaten them 3 straight years. This will be the 4th. They're a terrible matchup for the Kings because the Kings are not that quick of a team. Now, Edmonton isn't as fast as they used to be.
Yeah, they've gotten a little older,
but they still can play faster than the Kings, and they just overwhelmed them last night. Like, it was a close game, but that was almost entirely because of Darcy Kemper. The Oilers could have won that game by 5 goals if Kemper would have been a league average goalie.
I have this little tweet here from Dmitry Filipovic. I never know how to say his name. I've only ever read it.
Dmitry is a friend of the pod.
Yeah. Since the start of the 3rd period in game 4, shots on goal, 79-35 Oilers, high danger chances, 39-12, expected goals, almost 10 to under 3, actual goals, 6-1. It hasn't been going great. It hasn't been going great for the Oilers.
The Oilers seemingly have figured out, again, the LA Kings. And the big thing the Kings had going for them was their ridiculous home ice advantage. Now that's gone.
Yeah, and the reason I might be putting the Oilers as my favorite in the West, even with the Stars, I think the Stars are awesome. And there is that, well, like if they eliminate the Avs without 2 of their best players, like maybe their 2 best players, sky is the limit for them. I do wonder what happens in a Dallas-Edmonton West final when Ben and Sagan have now played a ton of playoff games. They're just looking a little slower. Like that team isn't like Matt Duchene is one of their best forwards right now. Like what happens when this little bit of an older core on
But are they the core?
Up.
I feel like Sagan and Ben are the secondary pieces. They're the second wave of scoring. The core of that team, in theory, I mean, who knows how healthy Robertson and Heiskanen will be when they come back? They might only be 70% of what they normally are. But they're young guys. I mean,
Yes.
Hintz is young. They're the guys they really depend on. Wyatt Johnson is young. The guys they really depend on are young. Sagan and Ben are like, the Sean Couturier of their team. So I don't think it's going to kill them if they wear down a little.
I just think you need all hands on deck against Edmonton. And if this is now round 3, game 4, like what happens when you get those matchups? Every time we see Jamie Benn out there, every time you see Matt Duchene out there, we're gonna get one of our 2 nuclear options on the ice. At what point does that just kind of tilt in their favor? I still think Dallas is awesome. They have to close that series out. I just wonder what happens when they get down the line. Plus, we don't know how healthy those other guys will be.
It's true.
That's the other end.
I have 2 main reasons why I disagree with you.
Okay.
Number 1, I think you're sleeping on Vegas. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion Edmonton beats Vegas in round 2. Number 2, Cal Pickard.
Can we, I know, this is an organization that has struggled, the one in here in Philadelphia, that has struggled to find consistent goaltending, since 1976, really. They've had a couple of good years out of a couple of guys, sure, but we haven't had a legit number 1 for 3 seasons in a row for a long time.
Sure. It's been a bit.
How is it year 10 of Connor McDavid and this is what we're throwing out there? It is, the owner, everyone in Edmonton should be arrested for what they're doing. I'm not even saying you need to get Jake Ottinger or one of these guys. Just someone who isn't Stu Skinner or Cal Pickard, who is a waiver claim of the Flyers 6 years ago. This is what we're doing in the playoffs with this team.
Yep.
It's almost a shame. If I really actually cared about Edmonton, it would be a shame. But
you don't.
No, it's kind of funny.
Whatever.
It's just kind of funny. But no, Vegas, they're battle tested, but I'm just looking at them. I don't think they're quite the same team that they were that won the cup. And this series with Minnesota is a war.
Yeah, it's been tough, but I picked Vegas as my cup team. I'm holding to it.
Okay.
I think I know the hype is going to be around Florida right now, and I do think they are the best team.
Yeah.
I just don't know how they're going to hold up getting into round 3, round 4 in the 3rd straight year of playing through June.
It does seem like a ton of hockey.
Yeah.
And, the injuries that they've gone through. Now you have guys like Aaron Ekblad, very well rested.
Well, he's going to be even more rested if he keeps getting suspended.
He just keeps hitting dudes in the head. He's going to be very well rested. Makachuk, it's we know the injuries he's gone through, but he got a real nice breather at the end of the season there. But it is so much hockey. And you can point to Tampa and be well, they did it. But their circumstances were so different. The first one, they had 5 months off before the playoffs even began. It's a short season the next year. They didn't do it this way. Getting there 3 times in a row is insane.
And they ultimately did lose in the cup final.
And they lost the 3rd one eventually.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah, it just seems like so much freaking hockey. It is really tough to pick against Florida now.
They're really good. I think they are the best team.
There's reasons, and then you watch them play and go, I don't think it matters. They're just that good.
Yeah, they're really good. I just think eventually it's going to catch up with them all this hockey.
All right, before we get to the tocket of it all, it is time to tell you about a couple of our sponsors. Leading it off today with our friends at Golden Nugget Jewelers, because for the past 30 years, Golden Nugget Jewelers has operated out of the very same location right in the heart of Philly, and customers from across PA, Jersey, even in, Baltimore, New York, they've all come to Golden Nugget Jewelers to find that perfect engagement ring or wedding band, because the staff is unmatched. The staff at Golden Nugget is highly trained and dedicated to providing a personalized shopping experience. And take it from me, fam, you have no idea what you're doing when you're going to buy that engagement ring, wedding bands, even just regular jewelry for a holiday, a birthday, whatever it might be. You need an expert to tell you exactly what you're doing. you have no confidence that you can do this yourself, don't kid yourself. Take it to Golden Nugget because they have the absolute best selection: engagement rings, wedding bands, even high-end watches, fashion jewelry, diamond necklaces, bracelets, all of that and more. And say you get that engagement ring, you receive a final cleaning and written appraisal with every engagement ring purchase. Golden Nugget Jewelers, they've been a family-owned and operated business since 1987, right there on 8th and Chestnut in downtown Philly. You deserve an expert and the best price. Golden Nugget Jewelers, where Philly gets engaged. Visit goldennuggetjewelry.com today to learn more. And while we're here, it's game time, baby. That's right. Listen, Jersey is out, so there isn't a ton of playoff hockey happening in the immediate area, but we have a pretty damn good battle of PA going on in the Calder Cup playoffs between our Lehigh Valley Phantoms and those Hershey Bears. Maybe you want to go up and check that out. Maybe you want to get tickets to all your summer concerts. Maybe there's a comedian coming to town you want to check out. Whatever the ticketed event, you got to go with Game Time because Game Time has the absolute best features in the secondary ticket marketplace. Whether it's Game Time picks where they filter out the fluff and show you only the best deals on the best seats, or the all-in pricing so you never have to guess or be surprised when you get to check out. Same goes when you get to the venue. You've already seen your seat with the seat view, a panoramic shot of where you'll be sitting. So there'll be no shock there. So you got to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, all you have to do is create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, Charlie. So we had that tweet yesterday, basically. Tocchet won't be back with the Canucks. It is a fact now. He will not be coaching the team in 2025-26.
It is a fact.
They haven't picked up his option. They were hoping to work out an extension. They made him at least on their, from what we've heard from the media, a lucrative offer. But he ain't going back to Vancouver. So the main question of today's show, is Rick Tocchet inevitable? Do you think he should be a prohibitive favorite in betting markets to be the coach of the Philadelphia Flyers?
Well, are you asking me, do I think he should be in the sense that, like, if I was running the Flyers, or do I think he should be in the sense that this is what I think is going to happen?
This is what is actually going to happen.
Yeah, I think he should be the favorite. It does seem like the winds are blowing in that direction. The one thing that gives me pause, and it does, I said this to Anthony Gargano this morning when I was walking up to come up to the studio. The one thing that gives me pause is that Keith Jones and Danny Briere, and I believe Bill Meltzer actually spoke to this today in his column. Jonesy especially, they do seem to get a kind of like a perverse pleasure in defying expectations. And it seems like this is so the chalk pick for them that you just have that feeling in the back of your head of, are they going to pull something, completely unexpected and hire somebody who we're not even talking about? That's the one thing that gives me pause. But as I've said, and I said this earlier on in the show, dating back to like early February, this was the assumption in hockey circles, was that Tocchet's going to be done with Vancouver and he's going to end up in Philly. And while some of that is just industry gossip, as I've said, my understanding, and I don't personally have a relationship with Rick Tocchet, but I talk to people who do. Rick Tocchet likes to talk. So I have to believe that some of this is coming from Rick Tocchet saying, yeah, if I leave Vancouver, Philly's my top choice.
I want to rank like the openings and what we think of each of these places in a little bit. And maybe there are more attractive options. Like we have said, while a portion of this fan base is staunchly anti-Rick Tocchet.
Yes.
Because it seems, all right, former Flyer, badass, the Flyers way, all this stuff. It just seems like kind of a same old sort of approach. There is the thought process of, listen, all 8 teams want this guy. Like, I bet you if Rick Tocchet told any of these 8 teams, I want to coach your team, they'd be like, oh, cool. Like Anaheim, Pittsburgh, whoever, Chicago, They would all hire
maybe
Rick
not the
Tocchet.
Rangers because it seems like they're dead set on getting Sullivan.
Okay.
But 7 out of 8, I would say, probably.
7 of the 8. All right. And yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Rick Tocchet is on the short list of all 3 teams. Like,
yeah.
Mike Sullivan also going to have suitors and going to have options. Yeah. No, I don't want to go to the Rangers. Oh, well, all right. Who's second on the list?
Exactly,
you know?
yeah.
Like, I do think he would be in the top 3. He would be a finalist for each job, I suppose.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
If you gave, except I guess Vancouver, like they just let him go.
Well,
but they did want to bring him back.
I was going to say, they wanted him. He didn't want them.
They did want to bring him back. He was just like, I think I'm all good on this.
Yeah.
Quinn's gonna leave.
You don't have a practice facility.
Our best forward, I don't like. Brock Besser's gonna be gone. We already traded JT Miller. Yeah, there's no practice facility. Like maybe not the most attractive job.
I know that Tocchet brought up the practice facility thing, and it's a very shrewd piece of media management because that's something that everyone is going to look at and be like, yeah, it's ridiculous that the Vancouver Canucks don't have a practice facility. I really think that what this boils down to at its core is he doesn't think a team with Elias Pettersson is going to win anything. And if they're not going to get rid of Elias Pettersson and he has to coach a team that is stuck with Elias Pettersson, he doesn't want to coach that team because he wants to win cups. And his belief is that you're not going to win anything with Elias Pettersson as your 1C. Now, he might be wrong, but I really think that's what it boils down to.
And I think it's a combination of all those circumstances. Like, we are going to be built around Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson. What happens when we have to negotiate an extension in a year with Quinn Hughes? And he's like, I want to play with my brothers. Maybe they are, like their GM said, able to trade for both of them. Seems difficult. But, you know,
you never know.
Maybe you bring in Berkey and he figures it all out. You know, bring him back because he's swung this once before.
Sure.
Listen, it's happened. They did it. They did it the first time with the Sedins. Maybe it happens. But, like, I just, yeah. Anyway, that's enough about Vancouver. I see Tocchet as the inevitable choice here. I think if he's like, actually, Pittsburgh is more attractive, I think it's been a coaching issue or whatever. I think I can get the most out of these, 3 of our 4 Hall of Famers in Pittsburgh. It's like, yeah, they're on decent contracts. Yeah. This is livable. We can figure this out. I think I'm the one who could figure this out. Well, maybe that makes that a more attractive situation. We know he was an assistant there, won cups there.
Yeah, he
has
pre-existing relationships with the key guys on that team.
As a player and an assistant coach, Stanley Cup rings there, so maybe he's got just as many connections. But you actually brought this up. One of the reasons I think this is inevitable, you brought this up in your article, and I actually forgot there was overlap. Tocchet and Briere were teammates together with the Coyotes. I completely forgot that those eras kind of overlap there. And the one year, Briere had 3 or 4 years in Phoenix, 1 year where he played a ton of games. The team was hilarious. It's Roenick, Tkachuk, and Tocchet are their top 3 scorers, and they have a 21-year-old Briere and a 22-year-old Shane Doan. I think it's 98-99 in Phoenix. Those eras don't mix. Those are 2 totally separate things to me. Oh yeah, Briere and Shane Doan and Keith Tkachuk and Rick. What? How? When? But it happens. So not only do you have just the Flyers connection, the Jonesy connection,
right?
These guys played 60-some games together one year, and we're in the same organization for about 3 seasons. It's kind of wild. I don't know how much we should be reading into these connections. It just seems, though, there's so many signs pointing this way. Maybe he chooses Pittsburgh, and it's we have Bradshaw in our back pocket, but I don't see this ending any other way. Okay. As much as maybe I want to believe Jonesy and Briere have something out of the box and that you never saw it coming. You never saw it coming because they've done it a few times now. This doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, and as I put in the article, because I went through all of the arguments against Tocchet. I think some hold more water than others. Personally, I've said that while Tocchet isn't someone who would be off my list, there would definitely be people above him. I suspect the Flyers don't share that opinion. But the thing you do have to remember is while it may be interpreted by some in the fan base as they're just hiring him because he's a former Flyer. What you have to remember, and you hinted at this when you're talking about, like, yeah, he'd probably be on the short list of every team other than Vancouver, in terms of
who tried to bring him back.
It will be viewed in hockey circles less that the Flyers hired one of their own again, and more that they leverage their pre-existing connections to get a guy that a lot of teams want. Now, the Flyers and the hockey world at large might be wrong. They might be wrong that Rick Tocchet is a really good coach, which is seemingly the consensus of people within the game. But it's not like if the Flyers don't hire Rick Tocchet that he's just going to be sitting out in limbo for 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, he's getting hired by somebody. The Flyers very well may tell themselves and be told by everyone in the game that, hey, this is a guy that everybody wants and we can get him because we know him.
And listen, maybe that actually works in the Flyers' favor. Maybe it is true that we are underrating him because of the pre-existing baggage that we have just in terms of, another former Flyer. How about that? But I will say, as a head coach, there is absolutely no proof that he's really good at his job. It could be true, but we have not seen it yet. And yes, circumstances absolutely might dictate it, but we have his coaching record here. And I just want to take a look at what he has done in his time as a head coach in the NHL. Now, those Tampa teams, they're freaking bad. There's a reason they had Stamkos, as the first overall pick.
Yeah.
There's a reason they have all the guys they have. It's because they were not good. And he takes over for freaking Barry Melrose at one. That's what was going on in Tampa. And, there's a 7-year difference. There's a 7-year gap in his head coaching resume. He was an assistant. He was on TV here. Maybe we can take Tampa out of it and you look at the record, well below 500 there. Was it 53, 69, and 26? All right, let's take that out of it because it was a long freaking time ago in a terrible situation. Then you look at more recent history, his time with the Coyotes. We can kind of write that off as, well, the Coyotes don't even exist anymore. So what the hell is he supposed to do? That said, yeah, he made the playoffs once, but not really. They were in 11th out of 15 when the season shut down, and they won a qualifying round in the bubble. We can say he made the playoffs, but no, he didn't. In any normal circumstance, he is well within the lottery with that Arizona team in his best year there. And then there's Vancouver. One season in the playoffs, and they were freaking really good. Their results were excellent. 109 points, 50 wins. They win their division, win in the first round, take the Edmonton Oilers to 7. It was a successful year, but if you're going to give him credit for all that, even, acknowledging the elite goaltending, the high shooting percentage, all that PDO stuff, the following season, a 19-point drop, missed the playoffs, locker room falls apart, everything goes to hell. We kind of have to hold that against him if we're going to give him credit. So his resume is not good as a head coach in the NHL.
I don't think his resume is terrible.
It's not terrible.
But I don't think it's anything
it is not,
that jumps out at you as, oh, man, you need to hire this guy. Yes. I totally agree with that.
And so I do think that lends itself to the criticism. Well, he's a former Flyer, so obviously he's a top candidate.
I just think that's unfair because while I get where that's coming from, that's not the view of people within the game. The way people within the game view his coaching resume is, number one, Tampa, whatever. It was, 15 years ago, terrible team. Arizona, the entire organization is dysfunctional. And if anything, he gets credit for the fact that I know you and a lot of people say well, they were an 11 seed, they wouldn't have made the playoffs. They were 4 points out of a playoff spot, and that was with a dysfunctional organization. They might have made the playoffs if the season continued. They never had the option to know because the pandemic happened and they canceled the rest of the season. But in both of those years, 2018, 2019, and 2019, 2020, even if we are going to say, well, that doesn't count, they were in the playoff mix, and that was an organization that was changing owners because one owner was about to get arrested, and it got replaced by another owner who ended up being the worst owner in hockey, and now the team doesn't exist anymore. So if anything, people within the game look at him and say, hey, he did a pretty good job with what he had in Arizona. And then they look at Vancouver and they say, yeah, he coached 2 full years and won the Jack Adams one of those 2 years and finished with 109 points. So that's the way that people in the game look at his resume, and they say, actually, pretty good resume. Now, again, it all comes down to which way you spin it, because you can certainly look at it with the perspective you're looking at it with, which is lost more games than he's won, only made the playoffs twice. One of those playoffs was BS, and he's never made it out of the second round. You certainly can. It's not a resume that has cups. It's not a resume where he's made the playoffs every year. It's very easy to pick holes in it if you want to. I'm just saying that people within the game can look at that resume and spin it in a much more positive way, and they do.
Oh, I think there is an argument to be made that he's at least not underachieved with any of the situations he's been in on the whole. But
on the whole,
it's not, on the whole, but it's just not a resume that jumps out and goes, oh, well, he's clearly one of the 5 best coaches.
I totally agree. You basically, if you are going to say that his resume is good, you have to grade him on a curve. Now, maybe it's fair to grade him on a curve, but you have to grade him on a curve. You do.
100%. And that's, I think, where a lot of people are coming at it from. I don't want to give away your entire article, Charlie, because you published it 3 hours ago. Go to allphly.com and read it. It's really good.
It's the last day of our sale, apparently. So
yeah, it's still going on.
If you're not a diehard, you have the opportunity to sign up for cheap.
Yeah, all right.
That's just the end of the day.
Oh, look at that. We have
cool.
We have a Flyers graphic. That's pretty outstanding.
As usual, fantastic work from our wonderful producer, Brenna.
She's the best in the business.
Sure is.
The idea, the one that really sticks out to me, I think, that is the argument against Rick Tocchet that holds some weight, is just tactically.
Yeah.
Tactically.
It's probably my biggest concern.
We have, perception-wise, maybe think, Michkov, Russian perimeter guy. We know he gets his nose in there. We know he's not that.
Sure.
But we have a dude who's awesome with the puck on his stick, who makes highlight reel plays, passing, breakaways, stuff like that. Possession player. He has a concede possession, go get possession back sort of tactic. Now, maybe he changes that. Maybe he has learned from his time in Vancouver and going, yeah, maybe that doesn't work for everybody. But, you just kind of went, well, yeah, can't win with Elias Pettersson because he's a high skill, low compete, whatever the hell you want to call it, not a heavy forechecker.
Right.
If we tie ourselves to that sort of strategy, doesn't that kind of just lower our ceiling? The comparisons to Tortorella, I think, or when, how we talked about the perception of Tortorella and the actual implementation of his ideas. He's I think, broader thinker in terms of the game, Tortorella, than he's given credit for on the whole. I think Tocchet tactically is what people think of dinosaur Tortorella.
I agree with
that. Is that fair?
Yes, I absolutely think that's true. I went back through for this piece. I went back through Corey Schneider, fantastic work doing manual tracking for the public sphere, all 3 zones. Check it out.
Is that really how you say his last name?
It is.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's just Snyder. It's just
there's no way that's real.
It's that easy.
Anyway,
he spells it not the way you expect.
There's a Z in there.
Yeah, there's a Z and an N and a J. It's a whole thing.
Anyway, go ahead.
But anyway, I went back through his data because while he doesn't have data for the Tampa years, he certainly has data for the Arizona years and the Vancouver years. I went back through and looked at their controlled entry rates. Now, he doesn't have data for the 2020-2021 season, but he has data for the other 5. 2017-2018, his first year in Arizona, controlled entry rate of 43.9%. That's low. Next year, 45.3%, also low. Third year, 51.0. Now, granted, smaller sample size. Corey didn't track as much as he did the other years, but you're like, okay, now they're playing a little bit more fast-paced, a little bit more attack off the rush. Doesn't have data for that 4th year in Arizona, the year where he was let go. First year in Vancouver, 43.3%. Second year, this past year in Vancouver, 41.4%. The Flyers under Tortorella the last couple years have been around 50%. If Rick Tocchet comes in and implements what seems like his preferred style, which is more of a dump and chase, boring style of hockey, it is going to be a big difference from the way the Flyers played the last 2 years where, and this is maybe my opinion, I back it up with data, but it is my opinion. I think the last 2 years of the Flyers, one of their strengths has been their play at 5-on-5. Goaltending's been terrible. Power play's been terrible. finishing at times has been bad. But they've controlled play overall at 5-on-5 by playing a rush-oriented game, a transition-focused game. I worry if Rick Tocchet comes here and turns back the clock to year one of Tortorella's tenure when they were a dump and chase team, are they going to score at all? I'm concerned.
I do have a counter for that, actually, which I can't believe I'm going to actually say. But first, let's take a quick second to hear from some of our sponsors. We got to start it off here with Ashley Furniture because it's on. That's right. You can shop the Memorial Day sale at Ashley now. You can save $100 off of every $1,000 you spend at Ashley. Plus, get amazing savings on outdoor furniture. But that's not all. You can get 60-month special financing and have your furniture delivered locally for free. Nothing better than that free delivery. Plus, with your qualifying purchase, you get a free gift and save on top brand mattresses. Get that free local delivery, setup, and removal. Like I've been saying, they bring it to you, they put it together, and they take away your old stuff, which are the 3 worst parts of furniture shopping, and they're taking care of it for you for free. That is a pretty great deal. So make sure you check out Ashley, South Jersey, and Philadelphia for this Memorial Day sale, and visit ashleyfurniture.com for more information. Financing with approved credit, minimum purchase required. Some exclusions may apply. See store for details. And while we're here, oh, that's right, you got your furniture. Now it's time to put it on top of something with new flooring from Empire. That's right. I didn't do the jingle today, but we'll get to it. I've been telling you forever, Empire is the place for your flooring. And why is that? It's because they live and breathe flooring. Their experts are there for you every step of the way. They will even bring the showroom to your home. You can pick the right flooring and the right colors for your space in your space and see how it looks up against that brand new furniture you just got on sale at Ashley in your house, against the colors of your room, all that stuff. And, you know, they'll take the precise measurements so you're not going into the big box store with the measurements maybe you and your wife took that, I don't know, these are like pretty close, you know? I was doing the measuring. It's not precise, I'll tell you that. And you're just kind of figuring it out yourself. That's not the way it goes. That is not the way it goes at Empire. There are never any surprises. And with Empire today, you get clear upfront and all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule installation as soon as the next day. So schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. And PHLY listeners, that's right, you all listening right now, you can receive a $350 discount when using promo code PHLY. Yes, you heard that right, a $350 discount with code PHLY. Restrictions apply. Visit empiretoday.com/PHLY for full details. All right,
before we continue, we're at 165 likes. I'm hitting that stopwatch. Let's get to 200.
200. All right. In terms of the tactical difference, one, teams with a heavy forecheck, true or false, tend to do a little better in the playoffs. At least, maybe not that's your typical attack, but you have that trick in your bag.
I think you have to be able to play that way. Yes.
You have to have like that half-court offense, as they say.
I agree with that.
The rush kind of goes away. We saw it at the end of last season when the Flyers are making the playoff push, when all of a sudden it's like, yeah, man, they got a defenseman back every time. They're not just giving up that rush. Like, I think it just slows down a little. You need to have that trick in your bag.
Yeah.
And two, you know, we just saw the other day, like the stats come out, and the Flyers have one of the faster teams in the league. They have guys who can really fly.
They have some slow guys, but they definitely. You have Owen Tippett, obviously one of the fastest players in the league, and a newly healthy Jamie Drysdale is establishing himself as one of the faster defensemen in the league.
You have a Jamie Drysdale.
You have Travis Konechny.
Ryan Poehling. You're going to be adding Jet Luchenko at some point,
Indeed.
who can fly.
Indeed.
While you'd be like, oh, high-flying offense. I'll score on nothing but 2-on-1s. It does give you a little bit of a boost in a puck race to have a whole bunch of real fast guys, not to mention a bunch of guys who are pretty decent on the forecheck, whether it's the Cates Forster Brink line. We saw Michkov has a ways to go, but he's more than willing to battle for the puck. I might not be a killer to introduce that. If you were going to build on what they do rather than completely change what they do, if Tocchet is able to do that, it might not be the worst idea in the world.
I think where I stand, it's a concern. It's a big concern for me because I do like the way they're playing, and I would like the next coach to take what they're doing and expand upon it. You know, obviously add some new wrinkles. I'm not expecting the next coach to, you know, take Tortorella's system wholesale, but I do think there were a lot of good things about the way John Tortorella coached this team tactically, and I don't want them, you know, thrown out with the, you know, with the bathwater. That said, I do wonder, because you look at maybe the best case in favor of Tocchet is you look at the players who swear by him. You look at Quinn Hughes, who apparently was the biggest reason why Vancouver wanted to bring him back, was because they don't want to lose Quinn Hughes, and they figured, well, if we bring back the coach he loves, Quinn Hughes is going to be more likely to sign. Quinn Hughes, obviously a high-skill defenseman who is not going to be like, yeah, let's play dump and chase all the time. He loves Tocchet. Phil Kessel, we're talking about like maybe like the closest player stylistically to like the way Matvei Michkov played this year in terms of just being all offense, scoring goals, cheating in the neutral zone. Like that was Phil Kessel's entire MO. Now I think Matvei Michkov will ultimately be a much better all-around player than Phil Kessel was, but some similarities there.
Pretty damn good player. Yeah.
Phil Kessel loved Rick Tocchet. And then you've got the best player of our generation, Sidney Crosby. Basically, Josh Yeo, who covers the Penguins for The Athletic, covered the Tocchet assistant era in Pittsburgh, has a line in his most recent article saying, aside from maybe Mike Sullivan, there is no coach that Sidney Crosby respects more than Rick Tocchet. You would think that those guys would not like Rick Tocchet as much as they do if Rick Tocchet was yelling at them to dump the puck in all the time. So yeah, I would hope that there's a little bit of flexibility there. And if the Flyers ultimately hire Rick Tocchet, that is what I will be hoping for. That said, I look at the numbers and I see that his teams play dump and chase all the time. His teams, aside from that 1 year where their shooting percentages through the roof, his teams don't score that many goals. And that worries me.
Now they're in the 20s. They're near bottom 10 of the league, typically a Rick Tocchet team in scoring, but that is another one of those, well, look at the freaking rosters thing again. Yeah. I like just thinking of, well, you know, I could see Phil Kessel, like just the way that team was put together. Like, yeah, someone like Chris Letang dumps the puck in at the red line. Carl Hagelin just wins a race to it and then throws it out front for Phil Kessel to put in the top corner. Like, yeah, all right, there is a way to make this work with high-skilled players. Sure. But I'm sorry, Christopher Letang. My apologies. I think we've gone. Rick Tocchet is not my top choice. He's certainly on my list, but not my top choice. Now, my top choices are guys that probably aren't going to happen, and there's some college dudes in there. But I think we've gone as a fan base, at least a percentage of our fan base that tunes into this show and who we interact with on social media, that has gone so far the other way on Tocchet that I did want to like bring it around.
We got to 200.
We're at 202.
517. Right. That was an ambitious ask, so props to you guys.
It was. We were at like 165, and there was an ad read in there. So
that was well done.
Yeah, well done.
Well done, folks.
Like I wanted to do this a little today to like kind of bring it around because, again, like he's not my top choice, but I do think we've gone a little too far in the Tocchet bashing. Like, while he may not be this coach that everyone's saying he is, I don't think he stinks. I don't think he's a bad coach. I don't think he's actively hurting his teams, but there are concerns. There's definitely concerns.
Yeah, there's absolutely concerns. Also, it's much easier to have a show like this when Kelly's not here because we know where Kelly stands on Rick Tocchet.
Well, no, and honestly, I'm absolutely fine. Like Kelly represents that fan base.
I respect where Kelly's coming from. It's just like, we're not going to be able to have even a mildly positive show if Kelly's on it when it comes to Rick Tocchet.
And listen, that's absolutely fine with me. I do want to get to super chats in just a second. I think we have a decent amount of them.
Okay.
But just looking at the job openings, Charlie, there are 8 job openings in the NHL. That is a quarter of the teams looking for a coach. You have us here in Philly, Pittsburgh, Seattle, Boston, the Rangers, Blackhawks, Ducks, and Canucks.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the most attractive spot right now? Where, like, coach has an offer from all 8 places. He gets to choose. What would you think would be the most attractive place?
My gut is that it's the Rangers because, number one, they are just 1 year removed from being the President's Trophy winners. They have a lot of talent. Coaches generally like to go to teams where they can win now. Number two, and this is big, they have a ton of money. So they're just going to be able to write a check that maybe no other team can write. So I think it's probably the Rangers. The one thing that gives me pause is the Drury situation. That's probably going to be frightening to some coaches. But I have to think the Rangers are probably number one.
I think, and we saw PK Subban rank the top 5 jobs yesterday. And he has Rangers at 1, Ducks 2, Philly 3, which surprised me.
Interesting.
Then Boston, Seattle. Yeah, I think I go Anaheim 1.
Do you? See, I guess you're more sold on their young talent than
They have a ton of young talent. They're going to have some cap space. They're going to be able to figure some things out there. Also, lifestyle. You're living in Southern California.
That's a good point.
And Rangers would be 1 to me, and they might be, except for the Drury situation. 1, you have a team that straight up quit on its GM.
Yeah.
And 2, like, okay, let's say he gets replaced in a year or 2. What does every GM want? Their own opportunity to hire a coach. Now, maybe you're Rick Tocchet and everyone loves you and you're doing a good job, so you stay around. But even the situation here where we thought, oh, John Tortorella, he's like part of the front office, basically. Yeah, not so fast. You're out of here, dude. In fact, you don't even get to finish the final 9 games of the season. Like now, again, not everyone's John Tortorella. There was reasons for it. But we thought that was one of the more secure jobs, or at least secure places in an organization, and he's gone, and now the new GM gets to hire his own coach. Like, so I think maybe that pushes it to 2, but I think it's Rangers, Ducks 1, 2, no matter what.
Okay.
And then a whole bunch of teams that are kind of like in mass situations.
Yeah.
Like, where would you put the Flyers in this thing here? Like, I think the Canucks should be in the top
I think the Canucks are last.
but they're now last.
I think they're last because
all the uncertainty.
The uncertainty, and also that ownership is not good.
Yes.
That is a bad ownership situation. I would not want to jump into that mess of a situation. So I actually would put the Canucks dead last on my list.
I think they're last.
Here's my question for you. You're very high on Anaheim. Why are you not? If you're that high on Anaheim, why are you not similarly high on Chicago? Because they're basically the same thing, except they have Connor Bedard.
I think Chicago is in the top 5.
Okay.
Not sure. I mean, once they start winning, the ownership is good.
Right.
You have to get to that point, though. Also, it's just a little more, and we started to see the call-ups and stuff at the end of the year, but it's just a little more hypothetical in Chicago outside of Bedard.
Okay.
Whereas it's all on the ice in Anaheim.
Okay.
Or at least most of it. And they have some other guys coming.
Okay.
But it's just not as cemented. Like, okay, these are who the guys are going to be. Now, you have Bedard, which is, that might be enough. And then you figure it out from there.
Right. And they have a lot of other good young players, too.
Yes. But I just don't see it quite as cemented as Anaheim.
Okay.
But I do think they are in the 3, 4, 5 range, probably.
Yeah, I'm looking at this. I think I would put Philly over Pittsburgh because I just think that's a tough situation with aging vets who aren't going to retire anytime soon, that you kind of have to bend over backwards because they're legends. They don't have a great prospect pool. I would put the Flyers over Pittsburgh. I think I would put the Flyers over Seattle just because I don't know if I see a path to Seattle becoming really good. I can see a path to them being a playoff team.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I see a path for them to collect the kind of talent they need to be a top tier team in the next 3, 4, 5 years. Boston, you could make a case that they should, because they have had more success recently. They have more talent. I just think that situation's kind of a mess too. I don't know where they're going.
Well, we're going to overtime, so go to allphly.com for more of the show. Yeah, Boston is like, PK has them there at 4, and like, you can make a case that they're in the top 3, or you can make a case that they're 6, 7, or 8.
Right.
I really just don't see. I don't know what the hell's going on in Boston. Like, I don't know what their plan is. I don't know if their management is all that great. Like, they assembled that team, and it was good for a while, and they got by on Bruins culture, and then piece by piece, it started retiring, aging out. And now it's David Pastrnak and a bunch of guys.
Yeah, McAvoy, and that's basically it. I think I might put the Flyers 4. I think I put them definitely behind the Rangers, probably behind Anaheim and Chicago. I don't look at any of the other teams and say, like, yeah, I would rather take that job. But they're not at the top. They're not at the bottom either.
Yeah, I think they're in that little middle there. I don't know about thank you, PK. Maybe you have a better idea than I do. But all right, let's hit those super chats. Let's wrap up today's show as we always do. Let's start it off with Gary B.
Oh, Gary B popped in to say
Can't stay, but wanted to show support. Appreciate it, Gary. We know that Gary told us he works through the noon show, so good to hear from you, Gary. All right, from Eli Shaika? Yeah. Charlie, knowing your love for the late 90s, early 2000s emo, will the Get Up Kids be on the playlist for the party?
I don't know. I mean, I've seen the Get Up Kids live a couple times. They're fun. I was never a Diehard fan. Like, Something Right Home About, it's a good album. Don't get me wrong, but they were never one of my like favorites of that era. I'm more of like a Jawbreaker guy if we're talking about that era of the emo punk scene. I don't think they'll be on the playlist, but you know what, Eli? If you come, I'll put them on for you.
All right, there we go. All right, from JH. What up, JH? Anyone check on Kelly today? Leafs gonna leaf. Man,
she was wearing an Ottawa shirt.
She was wearing. She is rooting.
Yesterday's show.
She is rooting for G right now.
Yeah.
The Leafs are hilarious, man. All right. From Boba Fett. He had just had $1.99 there.
Chats,
another $1. He's just working it out here. Okay, there we go, Boba.
All right, cool.
Do we give up too early on our goalies before they have time to fully develop? Seeing Bob win a cup and now Stolarz being Toronto's starter and putting up decent numbers.
They absolutely gave up too early on Bob.
The Bob thing was just an absolutely ridiculous, asinine situation, the way they handled it.
Yeah.
Terrible. Like, Stoli, maybe, but he's never played like 30 games in a season.
He did spend a lot of time injured this year.
The problem with him continued to be the problem, like, can't keep him healthy.
Yeah.
Alex Lyon is a nice backup. Maybe we didn't see him having this sort of NHL career, but like, yeah, I think...
Well, Cal Pickert's going to be the Stanley Cup champion goalie in your estimation.
Probably. But like, I just think these guys, it's not as if they really, outside of Bob, became stars. They're just kind of in the league, and you look around, and the league is mostly goalies who are just sort of dudes.
Yeah.
Stoli has a ton of talent. He just can't play.
Yeah,
like, he's never available.
He's good, and he definitely developed. He was a big athletic goalie. The reason why, if I remember correctly, the reason why they essentially moved on from Stolarz was because, and at the time, I thought this made sense. Now, obviously, we didn't know what was ultimately going to play out, was that their view was Carter Hart is the guy, and we don't want the tandem with Hart to be another developing guy.
Guys, yeah.
We want it to be a vet who we can lean on and ask advice and, have that support rather than it being a constant competition between two developing guys. I think that made sense. So I don't have a problem with them moving on from Stolarz when they did. I think it was logical. Now, obviously, Carter Hart, even before everything, didn't seem like he was developing into the superstar that we hoped he was going to be.
Not Carey Price. No.
And now, obviously, he's gone. But the Bob thing, I think, is the one where you point to and you say, yeah, they obviously gave up on Bob too soon. That was insane. But we know why. It was because Ed Snyder was like, I'm done with this crap. Get me the best goalie on the market. I don't care what he costs. Just get me that guy. And then once they got that guy, Bob was like, well, I'm not going to spend the next 9 years as a backup. I'll go back to Russia.
Yeah.
And then they had to trade him.
Yeah. So that is the outlier. But I think there's like explanations for the other things. All right, from the Flyers, man. I feel that most of the anti-Tocchet is emotional.
I mean, most fandom is emotional.
I mean, that's what fandom is.
Yeah.
But, like, it's not as if he has outstanding results. Like, this isn't a guy with a couple of cups under his belt as a head coach. Like, he he's been okay.
Well, if he had a couple cups under his belt, though, then you would be opposed to him because of the can't win in 2 places rule.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's not as if he's been to a conference final.
Fair.
It's not like he has this track record of, like teams like the Flyers of last year taking them to the playoffs 4 times or something. Like it just hasn't happened for him. Maybe it's the circumstance. Maybe he's just not quite as good as people think. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but I do think there's like resume reasons to look at it and go, is he a great coach?
I agree with that. I don't think this is irrational Twitter anger. I think it's coming from a real place of evidence. I do.
All right. From Marco 5-Hole says, any chance coming to Allentown for game 3 on Sunday? I'm working on something. I'm not quite positive we're going to be able to pull it off, but I'd love to. Want to check out Brew Daddy again? Some delicious beers and food. It's really good bar. And the rink is just cool. And Phantoms Bears, that's right up my alley. All right. From Justified EDC, rare podcast listener here. We do exist. First time tuning in live. I always say, like, I don't remember that we're also a podcast.
Yeah, we are.
And we're a YouTube show.
Yep.
But I don't watch any YouTube shows, and everything I listen to is podcasts. So, like, I am one of the people that I don't realize exist.
Right. We have a lot of podcast only listeners, and obviously
we love you started.
Too. Yeah. We love you too. Yeah. I know we focus on the visual because it's just easier.
Ad
to
revenue
be
on YouTube it's
very good, but we are very thankful for all of our podcast only listeners as well. You're great.
I made the AOK sign with my hand there for the podcast listeners. And from Big Juicy Germ,
sure.
Pens and Tocchet news suspiciously close.
It is an interesting point. Look, I could see him going to Pittsburgh. It wouldn't blow me away, and I suspect Pittsburgh will be very interested.
I can see that being. He's got 2 teams to make a choice between, and it's like, ooh, it's a tough one, a little bit of a tough one because he's had success in both places, and
It would not.
It could be interesting.
It would not blow me away if it gets to those 2. If he ultimately decides, I want to coach the top 10 of all time NHL player through his final years, rather than like whatever the Flyers are.
That's the last thing, and then I want to wrap up. Like, I know that you ranked, and I think rank the Flyers ahead of Pittsburgh in terms of organizational like attractiveness, but to the hockey men, like. It's not like I can make it work with these guys.
Yeah.
You're giving me these guys. I think this is a very attractive job. Like Sidney Crosby is still awesome.
Yeah.
The other 2 are still pretty good. The only bad contract of the 4 is Erik Karlsson.
That's true.
Like, we could easily be Washington if I'm looking at this.
It's a fair point.
I believe in myself as a coach. I'm like, I can do what Spencer Carberry did. Like, we have the pieces. We just need to add a little and like around the margins here and figure this thing the hell out.
Yeah.
So maybe. The hockey men see Pittsburgh as more of an attractive spot. I look at it and go, 3 years from now, what the hell are either of these teams? I like the Flyers better than Pittsburgh. But, if you're playing in 3 years down the line as a head coach, it's like...
It's a very good point.
Maybe not. All right. And that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers today. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. We'll be back tomorrow at noon once again. Hit that like button one last time. A reminder to hit the like button. And make sure you go to allphly.com. One, sign up to be a diehard, read all Charlie's stuff. But most importantly, get tickets to the draft party. Look at that. We have a QR code right there. You don't even need to go to the website. You can do it right from here with the QR code on your phone reader. All right. I am Bill Matz. That is Charlie O'Connor. Until tomorrow, let's go Phantoms.
We all silly like the mayor.